Hai, Assalamualaikum. Anda bersama dengan saya, Nurhana Ismail, dan anda sedang menyaksikan Bisnes Alternatif. Episod kali ini kita akan bersama dengan Silverfish Books. Kita akan berkatakan tentang bagaimana kita hendak memasarkan dan mempromosikan buku-buku yang bukan mainstream, karya penulis-penulis tempatan. Kita bersama dengan mereka.
No, Mr. Rahman, when you said your real bookshop, Silverfish Book, what is your definition of a real bookshop?
Well, this was a definition we came up 14 years ago, because when we first set up a bookshop, we wanted to be a real bookshop in the sense that we didn't want to sell magazines, and we certainly didn't want to sell stationery. And at the time when we set up, there were hardly any real bookshops in KL. I mean, this was before the period of the mega bookstores when everybody had so much money and we were buying every book. So we were quite ahead of our time with it. Although we were small, we were quite ahead of our time. And I wanted a bookshop which I like to go to. I found that there were no bookshops in KL worth visiting. Well, I used to buy. Well, you might be surprised that I used to buy many things from overseas, from London, by mail order. This was before this online bookstore thing, and of course it cost me a lot of money. But that's what I meant. I mean, look, there were no serious bookstores in KL.
All right. Now, your Silverfish Books, you choose not to sell mainstream reading materials.
Yes, we do not sell. We try not to sell bestsellers. Okay, we try and sell books which, to put it very, I mean, that sounds a bit arrogant, but books that make you intelligent, not stupid. Okay? I mean, we like to sell books that will make you clever after reading it. That sounds very arrogant, I know.
But why not sell bestseller books? Because you are running this as a business, and bestseller usually will provide a more lucrative income for a business.
Certainly, I mean, bestsellers provide the best income for all the big shops. I mean, for Kino and for NPH and for Borders, yes, they depend on the bestsellers, and most bookshops do depend on bestsellers. But in that process, what they do what happens is that they tend to marginalize those serious readers. And I feel that there are serious readers in Malaysia. I mean, we are not just, all of us are not just out for bestsellers. There are serious readers in Malaysia who want to read books which are important, which are thoughtful.
Tell us about your clientele who come to Silverfish Books.
That's very interesting, because I've been asked this question many times, and by many of my customers, and also by our friends and all that. They assume that most of my customers are expatriates, but I tell them no, they are not. Most of my customers are Malaysians, and young Malaysians at that. And they are shocked. They think that young people don't read. I said that's not true. But young people read much more widely than the old people. Old people are the ones stuck in their narrow grooves. The young people read very widely, and most of my customers are young people.
Okay. So,
and I'm very pleased with that. I mean, honestly, I'm really, really happy with that.
All right. Now, the books that you have in Silverfish Books, do you travel around to get them? Because I see some books you can't get it in Malaysia.
Well, I used to travel around to buy those books, yes, but largely, see what has happened in the last. After the megastore period, during the megastore period, before they all went broke, they were all defying gravity, honestly. I mean, they had such deep pockets, they could buy any book in the list, whether they understood what the book was about or not. I mean, they could just simply buy it. And so when we first started, it made sense to go out and look for books which they didn't, but most of the books didn't have at that time anyway. But because of the deep pockets, they started stocking every book. I mean, and I couldn't compete with that. So I really stopped acquiring that kind of book, and so I switched to books which they were not interested in or not promoting at all. which is Malaysian books. See, and you go to any major bookstore in KL, or rather, this was say like 5 years ago. If you were to go to any major bookstore in KL, you wonder which country are you in, because the bookstore will look exactly the same as in London, or New York, or even in Minneapolis or wherever. I mean, look, it was no different. We were invaded by books from UK and the US, and our Malaysian books will be in the last row, in the bottom shelf of the last row at the end of the bookshop, and most customers won't be able to find them. So it was quite embarrassing, honestly. So when I first started 14 years ago, I had about 30 Malaysian titles. Now I have about 2,000. Is in Malaysian title, and so that's one area that is my real niche now, Malaysian books, and that's what I'm really interested in.
Bertemu kembali di Bisnes Alternatif, kita masih lagi bercakap tentang bagaimana hendak mempromosikan karya penulis tempatan yang bukan mainstream bersama dengan Silverfish Books.
You sell Malaysian materials for Malaysian.
For Malaysians and also for scholars my customers come all from all over the world, and I get many university types coming in from say US or UK or Japan, and I get serious readers coming from all over Malaysia. My market is not really Bangsa at all. My market is really the entire country and maybe the entire world really. So yes, I do sell many Malaysian books to Malaysians, but I also sell many Malaysian books to non-Malaysians.
What is the reaction for the non-Malaysian towards the Malaysian material?
Well, for one thing, when they come here to Silverfish, they say, "Oh my God, I've been looking for this for a long time." I'm looking all over for this kind of stuff, and so they're really very happy that there's actually somewhere which focuses on Malaysian material and not the touristry type, not the tourist type, and some serious Malay. But at the same time, I would say that there's not enough Malaysian material published yet. There's such big gaps in the knowledge base. And I wish more people will write.
Okay. Now you are also Silverfish Books. It is also an indie publisher. Now, how is that doing for Silverfish for the past 14 years?
Well, it has been keeping us in the black. I think that's what they say. It's been keeping us in the black. I mean, there is an interest. See, the thing is that we publish in English, and so the English market is pretty small. And given that our print media doesn't seem to be interested in anything Malaysian, besides theatre. I mean, they give a lot of coverage to theatre, but apart from that, they don't seem to give coverage to anything Malaysian. And so, given all that, I'd say that we're doing very well.
Now, if you want to go to Silverfish Books website, it says that you are focusing on Malaysian material for the publishing side. How many Malaysians are submitting their works to be published in Silverfish Books?
Many. I get several dozens of manuscripts every month, but I'm also very choosy, I feel that just because we are Malaysians, there's no such thing as good enough, right? They say takut kalah. I would say there's a takut menang mentality among our Malaysians, that we are not quite good enough for the world. I said, there's no such thing. We are good enough for the world. I mean, in the last 4 years, I've had 5 of my books shortlisted and longlisted for international awards. And who says Malaysians are not good enough?
Okay. Now, tell us, what kind of books can one get from Silverfish Books?
What kind of books? Like I said, Malaysian books, certainly. I mean, literature, current affairs, history, culture, and some indie DVDs. Well, these are independent DVD producers, you know, and they sell earbuds through my place, and because nobody else will sell them. And I also promote those independent publishers who which especially independent publishers in Malay who are really very good. And I get very excited by their work, and I sell many independent publishers. Now these books will not be found in most bookstores because they don't think it will not sell thousands and thousands and thousands of copies. But for me, that is not important. For me, what's important is that I make them available and I promote them.
Now, my last question, 14 years with Silverfish Books, what is your future plan for Silverfish Books?
That's interesting. See, one of the things you will find, and I don't know how many years ASEAN has been, you know, how many years ago ASEAN was established, but I would hazard a guess and say 50. And what has happened? Absolutely nothing. Can you get Indonesian books in Malaysia? Can you get Thai books in Malaysia? Can you get Vietnamese, Cambodian, Filipino, any of the books in Malaysia? No. Can you get Malaysian books in Indonesia or in Thailand? No. Why don't we talk to one another? What's wrong with us? You know. So I would say the future of Silverfish is I would like to see a climate where we actually translate and promote each other and approach. So we have got 600 million people in Malaysia, in ASEAN, and it's not. And there's so much of petty jealousy that nothing is being exploited. Nothing has been, no advantage has been taken. We cannot get from Singapore here. That's how disgraceful the situation is right now. So that's what I see. I would like to see Silverfish doing to bring together all of ASEAN in terms of translations and in terms of sharing and promoting. We can be a marketplace here and sell the whole thing to Europe, to the US,
I see.
to the whole world.
All right.
Why isn't anybody looking at that?
All right.
You know? And that to me would be something Silverfish should aspire. I mean, we might not get there, but it's something we'd like to aspire to.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Rama, for this
Thank you very
interview.
much.
All right.
Baiklah, sekian sahaja kami di Bisnes Alternatif. Kita jumpa lagi. Bye-bye.